Public Protector Busisiwe Mkhwebane has found that 15 municipalities which banked with collapsed VBS Mutual Bank acted improperly. Municipalities in Limpopo, the Northwest and Gauteng deposited about 1.6 billion rand with VBS Mutual Bank. Mkhwebane says these investments were improper, unlawful and resulted in the misuse of the public funds. On Wednesday, she briefed the media virtually, where she released reports on a number of her investigations that have been conducted by her office. Joining me now to unpack this story of the municipalities, is Economist Karen Heese. I think she's from Municipal IQ. Karen, good afternoon. I mean, we've always suspected and known that the municipalities, these ones, had behaved improperly. But just to kick it off, somebody might say, but why can't a municipality deposit its money with a mutual bank? Can we start there? Because I understood when this story broke that you're not supposed to deposit money as a municipality in a mutual bank.
Good afternoon, and to your listeners. Well, the answer is quite simply because of the risk that we've seen. Mutual banks aren't governed by the same regulatory requirements as you know, the sort of banks that are normally used for investments by conservative organizations. Municipalities have a limited number of funds, and really they can't take a risk of putting their money in institutions, financial institutions that haven't yet reached the regulatory levels of security that are required. I think the plan was always stated by National Treasury that they saw VBS Mutual as a bank that could move into that space over time, but it wasn't yet at that level. And it was very clear from National Treasury, individual municipalities were sent letters explaining exactly what the regulatory constraints were.
Yeah, now, to think that 15 municipalities went ahead and did it. I mean, you as Municipal IQ have been monitoring this. It's actually shocking, and one can think many things here to think. I mean, was it negligence? I mean, the public protector said they acted improperly, it was unlawful, and the misuse of public funds, and one is hoping that there'll be more accountability here.
Absolutely. It really, at the time, it was shocking. We looked at municipalities like Shibani, and in the 2017-18 financial year, the investment was more than 100% of their operating budgets. So really, you know, the sums invested for relatively poor municipalities were massive. And what's become even more shocking over time is the opportunity cost. So there were a number of these municipalities, most of which were in Limpopo, but a few in the Northwest and a couple in Gauteng, that relied or were expecting income for use of water, access to water, which clearly we need during the time of COVID. So the opportunity cost for people on the ground in these often very large, impoverished communities is massive and potentially deadly.
Yeah, as Municipal IQ, I mean, you've been tracking this for quite some time, and these are different parts of the country. I mean, seemingly, were they doing this out of free will? Were they doing this because they were instructed to? Because, I mean, as you've said at the beginning, National Treasury is very clear about the mutual banks, and the procedures of municipalities also very clear that you don't deposit money into any entity.
I think certainly in a number of cases there were political instructions, for lack of a better word, to support VBS Mutual. I think there were what investigative journalists seem to have found so-called gratifications, middlemen who would reward officials and elected officials for supporting VBS. Unfortunately, you know, whatever the explanation, they're all problematic, either clear incompetence, neglect of duty, or just outright corruption.
Yeah. Now, what are the big lessons here? I mean, for municipalities, what we are picking up there. I mean, if we as a country and municipalities, I'm asking this because we have a municipal election looming in October. Whether or not it's going to happen, we don't know. We are still waiting for that report that's going to come from the former Deputy Chief Justice, Dikgang Moseneke. He's busy with that, helping the IEC this week. But I mean, municipalities play a fundamental role for service delivery. That's actually where the rubber hits the tar, because that's where people want the services. And you've got the lessons here. I mean, what would they be from your perspective?
I think the lesson is clear. We need to see accountability, and we are seeing, as the VBS cases sort of cascade down to the local government level, we are starting to see more cases coming through. Just in the last 24 hours, the Thulamela mayor was recalled by the ANC for a role in VBS investments. So I think there is accountability. I think the accountability, to my mind, has been very slow. Certainly in Limpopo, there seems to have been initially some protection and conflict of interest at the regional and provincial level. And I think really what we'll need to see is how voters respond. I think now is a perfect time to test whether councillor candidates being put forward are held accountable if they had a role, whether they're removed from that position, and really it's the ball is in political parties' courts to show how they're going to respond to these charges and allegations.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking here, I know that's not your space, but part of the accountability in the country which has been lacking are those real consequences, like maybe somebody should face criminal charges. Because if you broke the law, you should be charged for breaking the law.
Absolutely. Fortunately, we are starting to see the criminal charges coming through. This week, we saw a number of cases, 3 individuals who were formerly in the West Rand, one of whom is the acting municipal manager in Merafong, go before the court on charges of VBS investments. So we are starting to see those cases coming through. But it is reaffirming, I think, that the public protector has supported the findings, because initially there was some speculation of a conspiracy or something really against VBS per se. But I think really we should just see it for what it was, criminal action which robbed poor people of resources that they desperately needed.
Yeah, so as Municipal IQ, you welcome these findings by the Public Protector's Office against these 15 municipalities in this matter of VBS Mutual Bank.
We absolutely do.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Karen Heese, economist with Municipal IQ. Shocking indeed, but at least we're beginning to see some accountability, and there are consequences that are coming through in some of these areas regarding these 15 municipalities which had banked unlawfully so, according to what the Public Protector has found with the VBS Mutual Bank.